May we have your attention, please, ladies and gentlemen? Good morning and welcome back to EROPA Conference 2018. As we are about to start the plenary session for today, so we would like to invite you all, especially for those who are still at the foyer area, please kindly join us here.
Okay, once again, ladies and gentlemen, to all participants, so we would like to invite you to come into the catch-up ballroom as the plenary session is about to begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to also kindly request you to kindly move forward, so as there are still available chairs on the first rows, so kindly you can just move forward, especially for those who are sitting at the backside. So, and also for those who are just joining us today, please fill the front row seat, as there are still many available spaces, of course.
And we also would like to inform you that we have a special session, that we are going to start in a few minutes. That is about Asian Public Administration Network.
Ibu Erna.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, once again, we would like to invite you all to join us in the ballroom, and please be seated. And please remind your cellular phone and also other communication devices in the silent mode, as we will now continue with the next plenary session. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start the plenary session, we would like to also remind you that tomorrow we have the tour, we have the visit for the 20th of September 2018, and the dress code is smart casual. So you are allowed to wear your shirt or also your polo shirt, and if you'd like to wear jeans, it is also allowed, as long as it's no, it's not a shorts, of course.
Yes,
as long as it's long pants, it's trousers, and it can be a jeans, because our visit to Tampak Siring.
Oh, Tampak Siring in Gianyar Regency, right?
That's right. That is our scheduled agenda for tomorrow.
And we kindly ask you to join us until the end of program, because this afternoon we are going to have a closing ceremony for EROPA Conference 2018.
That's right. And all of the documentation, the pictures documentations, are available on the link provided by the organizing committee. You can just scan the barcode or click through the link. Well, now, once again, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and a very warm welcome to you all to the third day of EROPA Conference 2018. And we are now arrived to the very last plenary of EROPA Conference 2018.
And this plenary session will be led by our moderator, that is Dr. Mahdum Priyatno, Dean Nipah School for Public Administration.
Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we will now hand the floor to the moderator. Please.
Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We wish you really very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very critical session indeed, very last plenary session. Usually we are wanting to be started earlier and finish soon, because we are going to come to, closing ceremony afterwards. At least there are 3 reasons why this session is so special. First, the topic. When ASEAN issue is appearing in the middle of the main theme of the conference and agreed upon by the Secretary General of EROPA. The second one, the topic about the network in terms of public administration. The third one, of course, the presenters. Dr. Adi Suranto on my right side, Dr. Achakon from my left side, and my leftmost, Professor Nakamura. Forgive me, my Filipino fellow, there is no lady in the stage. You are very concerned with the, gender, but, probably could be an inspiration for the next conference theme about the gender in Manila. Hope the network is still going well in terms of public administration in ASEAN region, because usually I'm so worried because when there is no lady, there is no network, there is only a blank spot. Before we start, let me back the date in the 1960, where EROPA was established at the very first time, and then 6 years later, ASEAN was established on 8th of August 1967, and on the date of 31st of December 2015, ASEAN community was agreed upon 10 ASEAN member countries. And the topic today is how to network the public administration among those 10 ASEAN member countries. This issue is very critical indeed, because there are 3 pillars of the ASEAN community. Those are political and security community, ASEAN economic community, and ASEAN socio-cultural community. How these 3 pillars could be linked each other through policy and so on and so forth, this is going to be discussed today. The time's until 12:30 allocated, so probably for each presenter will be allocated about 20 minutes each. Buddy, you are going to be the very first presenter, so for about 20 minutes, the stage belongs to you. You may stay here or on the podium. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Pak Madu. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. We have discussed many topics related with global megatrends and learned some issues and opportunity. Now allow me to share my insight into how we can go forward with the new era of public administration. As you can see on the screen, there are many points, 9 points to be discussed in this session. Let's start with point 1 until 3. Here I will talk about the opportunities of the ASEAN economic community to face a megatrend. As you can see from the screen, the combined population of ASEAN creates the world's largest share of population. This fact can be a trait of a potential for ASEAN economic community. It can be a trait if we don't do anything about it, but it can be a potential if we are able to maximize such large community to wage better ASEAN. In fact, there is an opportunity for ASEAN community to reach this potential and to face global trend that is dynamic of megatrends. Next slide. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look at the definition of megatrend on the screen, it's a sense megatrend clearly define the future of our world with their far-reaching impact of many aspects and personal lives. There are 10 characteristics of megatrend that were identified by many scholars, amongst others: demographic shift, mega urbanization, economic shift to Asia, social inequalities, and multipolar geopolitics. We are also experiencing hyperconnectivity and technological singularity, not to mention the rising problem of ecological overshoot, resource scarcity, and climate change. How is ASEAN in today? With the geoeconomic shift from the west to east, Southeast Asian nation is one of emerging economic that will shift the geoeconomic power in the global megatrends. ASEAN is the world's sixth largest economy. In terms of purchasing power parity, ASEAN was the fourth largest economy in the world in 2015 until 2016, after China, the United States, and India. In 2016, ASEAN economics grew at 4.7%. This is almost double of global growth rates of 2.3%. Establishing ASEAN Economic Community. ASEAN Economic Community is a major milestone for regional economic integration agenda. It drives the region to be more competitive and productive. This agenda requires us to play our part, particularly in knowledge creation and bridging the knowledge to policy. ASEAN Public Administration Network is facing the megatrends. To deal with the megatrend, collective effort from ASEAN countries are required to solve complex policy problems around ASEAN. ASEAN could develop public administration network to synergize and calibrate policy making to leverage an effective response on megatrend issues. ASEAN Public Administration Network can serve as a platform for ASEAN members to ease information, expertise, and experience exchange to contribute to better public policy quality in ASEAN region. To manage the network, collaborative leadership enables the realization of harmonious and synergic action. Ladies and gentlemen, let me share some of Indonesia's effort to strengthen leadership and to foster innovation, among others, by reforming leadership training program, innovation laboratory, and policy quality index to strengthen government capacity. Let me share some of Indonesian effort to strengthen leadership and to foster innovation, among others. We introduced another leadership training program. This is a reform leaders agenda. The RLA reform, the RLA program is a leadership training program that aims to accelerate bureaucratic reform by solving cross-sector policy problem. Sorry, missing page. Continues the presentation. Through leadership training program, innovation were produced and implemented in central and regional government agency. To foster innovation in government institutions, NIPA also encourages public sector innovation through collaboration with central and local government to manage innovation laboratories. This innovation laboratory basically encourages massive innovation. For instance, in one local government, they at least produce 60 to 200 innovation. However, this is not enough if we, NIPA, do it ourselves, because there are 24 province government and 536 city and regency government. So we initiate K Champion of Innovation program, where we train selective employees from ministries, government agencies, and local government to help NIPA accelerate innovation in central and local government. As you can see on the screen, since 2015 until 2018, we have produced about 596, more than 6,000 innovation ideas come from 61 local government that conducted innovation laboratory. So since 2014 until 2018, NIPA has facilitated and supported local and central government to produce about 19,000 public administration innovation and improving quality of public services through leadership training program, Reform Leaders Academy, Laboratorium Innovation, and Public Administration Innovation Competition. Next slide. In order to improve government policy, NIPA also introduced Policy Quality Index, or PQI. PQI is an instrument to assess of quality of government policy based on evaluation of policy process, namely agenda setting, policy formulation, implementation, and evaluation. The purpose of PQI is to strengthen participation and the principles of good governance in the public's policy-making process. Ladies and gentlemen, this effort contributes to improvement to bureaucracy performance such as governance effectiveness 2018 is of Doing Business Index, National Competitiveness Index, and Lowering Corruption Perception Index, as you can see from the slide. Another effort to improve the quality of public policy. Since 2017, NIPA has been pioneering the existence of Policy Studies Circle, which is a network between the Center of Policy Studies owned by government and non-government agencies. The PSC aims to share information that support evidence-based policymaking and development of knowledge management in policy issues. In addition, this network is also means of coordination and development of management capacity from various policy studies centers. As mentioned earlier, to deal with megatrend, ASEAN needs to strengthen the network than ever before. In doing so, there are two strategic initiatives. The first, we need to create ASEAN Leadership and Innovation Network. The network will consist of public sector leadership training institutions of all ASEAN member countries to encourage accelerate of reform and innovation in ASEAN. The objective of this network include the first one, development of joint learning program, either direct or indirect form, such as e-learning and video conference. Encourage program information exchange, method and teaching material development, as well as trainers. Encourage the information sharing and public sector innovation development strategies. And secondly, the establishment of ASEAN Public Policy Studies Network. This platform aims to bring together research center, government institutions, scholars or universities, and also non-government agencies. This platform also serves to promote common understanding on ASEAN policy issues, creates knowledge sharing in public issues among ASEAN countries, enhance the use of evidence-based policy-making principles in ASEAN countries, encourage joint advocacy for common interests. Ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, I readdress that the global megatrend challenge needs collective effort from ASEAN countries to solve complex policy problems around ASEAN. This collective effort can be materialized by establishing leadership, innovation, and policy circle studies. I believe with the strengthening of leadership capacity in accelerating leadership and innovation, we can capitalize megatrend as an opportunity to make better future for all ASEAN countries. That would be all for my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention and your patience.
Thank you very much. Big applause, please. Thank you, buddy. Excellent. And the next presenter will be Dr. Achakon.
Hello, my phone. Okay, thank you. Dear distinguished guests and participants, I'm Achakon Wongpridi. I'm Associate Dean in Public Administration from Graduate School of Public Administration, NIDA, Thailand. And today I prepare just only few slides to present you about the Asian public administrations. If I'm not long, I think this panel would like to get a lot of ideas. So I just prepare some like initiating idea to make the Asian public administration network is work. And as far as I attained the EROPA so many years before, I think that all guests and delegates here already realize that nowadays we are in a disruptive science and technologies and innovations and disruptive educations, disruptive of demands in public service, and also disruptive in global megatrend that Dr. Adi, Mr. Chairman, already states about that. And also disruptive in society and state. No need to be clarified on of this item because many years, a lot, I think more than 100 papers present here at the EROPA. And I think I love this kind of network very much when we're talking about the Asian PA network and EROPA network. I think if we look at only the ASEAN, okay, ASEAN is important, but how to make the ASEAN develop? We need to learn, many lessons learned from the other country, like ASEAN plus 3, ASEAN plus 6 country. Like I think every year I came here, I learned a lot from Singapore. On the first day, we get some idea from Dr. Tan, Assistant CEO of Singapore, and also I learned many things from South Korea and Japan as well. So in this disruptive society, we cannot just concentrate only ASEAN because we cannot, we learn a lot of problems. Okay, we share some common problem. We share some common culture, common socio-economic value, but we cannot find a way to ease the problem. So I think new challenge to public administration nowadays, we have like adopt many ideas like strategic foresight of Malaysia, very famous professor, everybody knows about that, Dr. Soho, and strategic leadership, many paper talking about few days ago in this topic, strategic leadership or politics leadership. Design thinking is another idea to get the new innovation, to get the public service effectively and efficiency. And also science and technologies and innovation can make the public service delivery is more effective. And also artificial intelligence for public service. Isn't all of these things is new challenge to the public administration? And how we could strengthen our Asian public administration network when we're looking at the EROPA. As far as I attended EROPA many years ago, and I think that I have some idea to make the academic and practitioner circle most valuable circle. For example, we should inviting research article and practical paper from those new administrative techniques to our network. And also, we would like to upgrade our ARPA journal to Scopus database that we already talked about that Mr. Orlando already emphasizing this to the Scopus database or any international accredited journal. And we should expanding our network to scholar and practitioner in the field of science, technologies, and innovation that strengthen effectively public service. This, I really appreciate some medical doctor present the public service in this morning from Philippines about the rabies. I think that we need to know, we need to learn from many fields of study, including science, technologies, and innovation, not just only public administration, not just only management. We should broaden our network to the scholar by starting from invite a very good or best practice, because we came here many years. Once times in the year, I think we should make it a very valuable time to learn each other, and the lesson learned or the good practice is important. We should emphasize lesson learned and best and good practice in public administration, both national and sub-national levels. And we should constructing new body of knowledge in our Asian public administration, not just only the American or Western public administration. They have their organization, but we also have our organization, and we share some problems, some common cultural, some socio-economic background. So why don't we should produce our body of knowledge in our circle? And another thing is we should discovering effectiveness of public service delivery and digitalization, public participations, and public needs and demands public services. Collaborations among public administration researchers and public and private practitioners for better service delivery, and co-research or co-training project that I've learned that from the meeting, executive meeting, that we will have some kinds of the training that is very important future plan. Among our region, closely share similarity in socio-economic and cultural background. And I'm not sure whether my last recommendation or my last thought should be possible or not, because all of scholars and practitioners always think that the policy formulator or initiator is another world. We separate the world. We stay in this world and we talk here every year, but we cannot, when we're going back to our country, we cannot make the thing that we learn to become a reality, right? So why don't we already accept the practitioner. Why don't we accept the policy formulators and policy initiators like advisory board of the political party to our network, so they can get a new idea when they're drafting their political party policy to be implemented in their country. I think those I would like to open the floor in this panel section at the end, after Dr. Nakamura will say some things about EROPA too. And I'm very happy if you can join and share how to make our network, EROPA or Asian, make more fruitful and very informative, and can make it to be the reality world. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you much. Applause, please. Both of the presenters use time less than 15 minutes, so probably for Professor Nakamura, we'll give you more 10 minutes more, about 30 minutes. Please, this stage belongs to you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this great opportunity to speak to you about a growing PA organizations and growing interest in public management in this part of the world. I'm sorry, I have to start off with two excuses. One, the Indonesian President Nipa gave me beautiful batik shirts. And as a diplomatic courtesy, I think I should have worn those batik shirts. But unfortunately, this room is too cold. I can stand this cold temperature. So pardon my wearing this suits, tie, and so on and so forth. Secondly, another excuse before I say anything is, please allow me to take this herb candy to smooth my voice. With that, I would like to mention 3 issues. It is 4. Which one is 4? This is 4, right?
This is for yes.
This is
Yes.
4. Okay. I have 3 agendas. Number 1, I would like to explain the rising interest in public management and public administration in ASEAN regions in the last 10-15 years. And also in Asia as well, there has been budding emergence of many organizations specialized in PA. So of the many, I only pick 2. Why? Because I know the best. Okay? Number 2, there have to be compelling reason why all of a sudden in Asia, many people began to be interested in public management and public administration to the extent that they want to create, for example, ASEAN PA network. There have to be compelling reason why. So I try to expand the reason for this emergence of interest in this part of the world. Finally, third issue is for me to tell you the research agendas. I am sure there are many academics, many practitioners, and I hope you will think new approach, new public policies to meet the growing challenges. So tentatively, if as long as time allows, I will list 1 or 2 issues for you to be reckoned with. So now let's move on to the first issue. First issue is growing interest in ASEAN and also Asia in general. By the way, I'm not from ASEAN country, okay? I'm outside of ASEAN, but I am privileged to speak about ASEAN. For that, I really appreciate. So the first issue is the rise of different PA organizations and rise of growing interest in public management in ASEAN and Asia as well. As you know, for many years, EROPA was the only organization specialized in the study of PA. EROPA was founded in 1960, and for over the years, I don't have to tell you, EROPA has contributed to the growth of interest and growth of populations interested in the issue of PA and public management. However, in addition to EROPA, we have seen a rise of many organizations, and I will take just 2. One is called, what? One is called AGPA. I don't think not too many of you have ever heard of AGPA. AGPA stands for Asian Group for PA. And AGPA was launched in 2011. And AGPA is affiliated with International Institute of Administrative Sciences, known as IIAS. And IIAS has a long history. First started in 1930, before the war. And in 1930, Europeans got together, European academics got together and started to have IIAS. IIAS has ever since publishing very reputable journal called International Review of Administrative Sciences. However, because IIAS has a headquarters in Brussels, IIAS has a strong European outlook. For many years, they don't care about Asia. They don't care about ASEAN. But because of the growing profile of Asian economies, IIAS decided to expand the client, so to speak, client. Therefore, they started, what? No, the other way. Okay.
This side.
This go forward. Okay. And, oops, one more. Coming versions. Okay. Up, the move. No. Okay. IIAS decided, in order to increase its outlook and to reduce European-centered outlook, they decided to encourage EGPA. In addition to EGPA stands for European Group of PA, and also they started to have LAGPA, Latin American Group of PA, and MEGPA, Middle Eastern Group of PA. Then came AGPA. AGPA was enacted in 2011. And in forming this, 3 countries collaborated and brought this AGPA into being. 3 countries are called CHIJACO: China, Japan, and Korea. And the first president was a Professor Jian Wu of Chinese Academy of Personnel Sciences. And their representative was here up to yesterday, I suppose. And Pan Soo Kim, Minister Pan Soo Kim of Korea, was the second president, and so on and so forth. And AGPA held meetings in all over those places, starting off with Beijing, and next year, I suppose, in November, I suppose, the AGPA will be held in Manila. Now, in addition to AGPA, there's another group called AAPP. AAPA, which once again, I don't think you ever heard of. AAPA stands for Asian Association for Public Administration. And before AAPA came into being in year 2010, this AAPA had a previous history. In year 2001, four of us, Anthony Chen of Hong Kong, John Kwa of Singapore, and Pan-Soo Kim of Korea and myself, met in the EROPA Hong Kong meeting. And we decided to start this AAPA. And it was conceived as, this organization was conceived as academic organizations, and based on individual members, and has published many, many books and articles. So, and these are the places where AAPA had the meeting. I want you to keep your eye on Astana, Kazakhstan. And we had a meeting in Kazakhstan, and next year we thought, the Minister Pan-Soo Kim of Korea proposed to have a meeting in Moscow for Asian Association for PA. But I don't know why, but Moscow declined, and therefore, once again, this meeting will be held in Manila, Philippines. Incumbent president is Alex Briantes of the University of Philippines. Anyway, the point that I am getting at is, as I indicated, there has been a growing number of organizations specialized in PA to have been emerged in ASEAN and many Asian regions. And for your interest, Indonesian government will start a institute of EROPA Institute of Public Study, Public Policy Studies, which was approved a few days ago at Executive Council meeting. So, needless, or I don't have to repeat myself, but there has been a growing interest in public management, and many people in this room, I think, are interested in such issues as performance management, performance assessment, performance evaluations, capacity buildings, and so on and so forth. So, the issue is why all of a sudden people in this part of the world has become interested in public policies, public management, and public administration. I think there are two reasons. One, as we already been exposed to many presentations, all presentations point to the growing ASEAN presence. Economic performances has been great in this part of the world. Philippines, GDP stands at, if I'm not mistaken, 7.6% a year. Indonesia, if I'm not mistaken, the gross GDP rate of growth stands at 5%. perhaps except Malaysia, rest of ASEAN countries' economies are ever expanding each year. And so are the individual incomes. And I am sure many Indonesians now, because income has been going up, they go abroad. They can afford to go abroad. Many come to Tokyo and to have ramen. Okay? You know, we welcome Indonesians, we welcome Chinese to come to Japan. Why? Because they can afford to come to overseas. And we are so happy. ASEAN countries are so happy. Economies, every year, economies are expanding tremendously. However, I want you to keep in mind, don't forget, there is another dimension to your society. Economically, you have been doing great, but when it comes to politics, ASEAN countries still have a lot of problems. If I go beyond this, I may not be able to go home. But you know, this is true. You have a lot of problems. Take a look at rough indicator. Through democracy, incomplete democracy, other regimes. Many Asian countries, for better or worse, are classified as having incomplete democracies. And this is a, you know, corruption index. This is a bit old, but the idea is you still have many countries in this part of the world. You tend to have a high incidence of corruptions. And so, what happened is, the bottom line is, you have an economic growth. Income goes up. As income goes up, you know what people will do? They do two things. One, they begin to cast doubt about their own government. They begin to lose trust in your government. That's number one. Number two, people begin to demand lots of things on government. They want to have new daycare center for the babies. They want to have new parks. They want to get rid of traffic jams. And therefore, what would happen is this. This line on the left side indicate public demand on government. As income, as I said, as income goes up, they all of a sudden become aware of a lot of things, impediment that their government tend to have. But government, on this side, government resources are limited. One, financial resources are limited. Two, number of public officers are limited. Therefore, government cannot meet the demand made by the public. Therefore, there has been a growing gap, discrepancy between what the people want government to do and what government can do. This is the issue I hope you keep in mind. This is the issue of public policies. Public policies. And I think in this room, academic researcher, and also practitioners, I hope you keep in mind, on your back, there has been a problem, impediment impediment is there has been a growing gap between what people want you to do and public demand on government has no limit, okay? But government has a limit. And therefore, as a researcher, as a practitioners, you have to think how to reduce this gap, how to alleviate this discrepancy. This is the issue I think you are all facing today. And because I'm running out of time, I give you my experience. Large number of research in this part of the world, ASEAN countries, you will see many studies of corruption. I think this is a reflective of high incidence of corruption, and therefore you study corruption. However, the problem is many studies on corruption is micro studies. Pardon my saying this. I don't mean to offend Dr. Mercado, but there's a small town in the Philippines, city in the Philippines, and paper elaborated on how the corruption was reduced in that small town. I said, beautiful. But at the same time I say, so what? So what does it mean? Many studies, in addition to corruption, many financial studies, many public policy studies, up to this point is all micro. Otherwise, country specific. Otherwise, case study. And therefore, no or little thematic overtone. I think when you write case study, beautiful, fine. But at the end of the paper, you have to elaborate on something thematic implication, thematic agenda for others to think. Otherwise, international journal would not accept your manuscript. In fact, I was the editor, associate editor of one of the American journal called PAR, P-A-R. For 6 years, I received and I checked more than 20 manuscripts, articles submitted by Asians. Of the 20 or so, only one was approved. One was written by a Korean female professor by the name of Sung-hee Kim. She was a professor, associate professor of Syracuse. She wrote beautiful, very thematic comparative study of public administrations. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, I think hereafter, when you do research, when you are interested in evaluation, policy evaluations, performance measurement, okay, I think, of course, you have to have a very specific case, but bottom line is you have to put something on what it means for the rest of the the ASEAN countries. These are essentially the outline of what I want you to, I would like to share with you. And I have many other specific research agendas I want to talk to you about. But if you have any questions, I may elaborate on. on those new policy research ideas. But in the meantime, I would like to conclude my the first round presentation. Thank you very much. Terima kasih.
Thank you very much, Professor Nakamura. It's very interesting indeed. I'm afraid this class is, changing like a classroom in the major university. Okay, we are coming to the question and answer session, ladies and gentlemen. We still have plenty of time, about 1 hour. So probably I will organize this question and answer session becomes 2 terms. First, about 4 or 5 questions. First, on my right side, please. Yes, one lady, Mike Man. Second one, Dr. Kus. Yes, please, your name, your question is addressed to country. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Lima from Graduate School of Public Administration in Makassar. My question is from Professor Nakamura. I'm interested of doing research, but is it possible for me to make literature review research, because we have very limited time and resource to do a case study or something field study research. Can you give me some suggestion on it? Thank you.
Suggestion. Suggestion, yes, please. You will take it right away or wait for Daniel? Sure.
Thank you for your question. I thought I should mention when I gave the first round speech, I think what ASEAN countries need is to study effective leadership. Because I think leadership holds the key to good performance, good governance, and capacity building. I'll just give you one example. In this EROPA meeting, people announced this meeting start at 10:30. They said local time. I thought they were joking. I thought it's ASEAN time or Indonesian time, because the meeting wouldn't start at 10:30. Meeting will start 10:45 at best, oftentimes 11 o'clock. In your workplace, if your work hours start at 8:30, leaders have to come to your office at 7:30. 7:30. But in many countries you are from, you are coming to your office at 8:30, but leaders will come at 9 o'clock. Okay? That's not good. That's not good. Leaders have to be a role model for many followers to follow. I think only Japanese and Koreans, we adhere if we say meeting start at 8:30. Koreans, Japanese would come to the meeting place 10 minutes early and wait for the meeting. But I kept telling all the meeting that I attended, I kept telling you, punctuality is ABC of public management. Punctuality is XYZ of public management. Therefore, you speak beautiful concept, leadership training, but leadership training have to start with teaching leaders be punctual. Okay, that's ABC of ABC of.
Great, thank you. Riemann, this is good message not only for the lady, but also for all of us. Thank you. Next questioners, please, from Dr. Kush.
I'm Dr. Kush Verma. A very good morning to everybody. I'd just like to respond to Dr. Nakamura. We have the system of IST, Indian Standard Time, but it's actually now considered as Indian Stretchable Time. So we have exactly the same kind of experience, and I would like to second what Dr. Nakamura has said, that punctuality is an expression of self-discipline, and that's where leadership starts. I have a question for Dr. Suryanto. I was rather intrigued by this concept, Policy Quality Index. I'd like to know how exactly this index has been fashioned. What are the parameters, and how is there an element of objectivity? Because policy making and policy execution are very complex in terms of both design and execution. So how is it that you have been able to fashion this kind of an index? And in real life, has it been applied, firstly? And if so, what is the success factor? How much of the quality has been captured or at ground level? So these are my two questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kush. Padi, you will take this question right away or wait for the others? Right away.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kush from India, for your question. Good question. In the concept of policy quality index, we have some parameters focused on the process of policy process, and we to evaluate the agenda setting, formulation and evaluation, and we develop how to measure of impact of policy impact in the some institution of government in Indonesia. You know, we have the big case in the policy. National governments the national government about 2000 local government policy because the policy have the negative impact to promote economic development, economic climates, and this is the important issues why we have developed a policy quality index. So in these years we create policy quality index, and we try to evaluate some policy in the some institution, and this is very interesting, because many Indonesian policy are not based on the evidence. So this is one point, important one point. So we need to develop public policy based on evidence. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Adi. Professor Nakamura, do you want to respond to the Indian standard or dynamic time something?
I think each country has its own culture, and I think it is very difficult to eliminate or eradicate IST, Indian Standard Time. But if and when the Indians' economies come to the point to be one of the leaders of the world, I think you have to get rid of IST even in public sector. And by the way, could I respond to that?
Oh, sure.
And also, in addition to leadership, I think another agenda, I think which will be very important for ASEAN countries is to re-examine the impact of NPM. Indonesia, I think I understand that, implemented NPM, a new public management. And I'm sure in Thailand too, NPM has been implemented. However, NPM is not panacea. NPM tend to generate lots of problems. Believe me, one of the problems is increased income disparities. Therefore, for the future studies, I hope many people in this room will study the impact of NPM on your public policies, so that NPM would not generate ill effect on the social well-being of the countries. By the way, New Zealand, which was the initiator of NPM, is no longer kept NPM. They scratched NPM altogether. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I take a lady participant, please? Yes, on my left side. Mike man.
Good morning. My question is to Professor Nakamura. I'm Fe Mendoza from the University of the Philippines. Professor Nakamura mentioned the rise of associations and groups for public administration. My question is, in the context of competition and cooperation, what could be the future direction of the three groups, EROPA, AGPA, and AAPA? Is there a possibility that the three groups could work together towards one vision for Asia and ASEAN, and also the Asia-Pacific region? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Mendoza. When we started to have AGPA or AAPA, AGPA, we did not have any choice because it's under the control of IIAS, and we just follow what the IIAS want us to do. And at least personally, I'm grateful for the Chinese contribution to this AGPA organizations. AAPA, it's a different bag. AAPA is based on individual membership. And I hope, having Professor Alex Briantes as a brilliant leader, I hope we will continue and increase collaboration with EROPA and ASEAN Public Administration Network. And I hope Professor Alex Briantes may have something to add to my comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes. Professor Alex, you can say something. I think... Mike, man, could you please stand by over here, please?
Thank you very much, Professor Nakamura, and of course the Prof. Just to follow through, in fact, that was my question, to follow through the discussion of, or suggestion of Dr. Mendoza. In one sense, there's this proliferation, if you may, or rise of public administration institutions, which I think is excellent. Fe mentioned about possible cooperation. In fact, I mentioned this to Dr. Mercado at one point back home in the Philippines. Perhaps one area of possible cooperation would be in the ARPA, for instance, Asian Review of Public Administration. You know, in one sense, perhaps all of us associations can come together and use that perhaps as a common journal. I don't know, but that's a possibility, because if you look at us in the region, and I think the statistic that you mentioned when you're with the American Review for Public Administration, it's kind of sad that you have so many manuscripts from Asia, not many, and only one was accepted. So maybe I agree with your proposal that we really should work on scholarship, perhaps, and deepening, especially in the areas that you mentioned, NPM, participation, decentralization, etc., etc. So I think that's already an excellent research agenda. Number two, I might as well mention that AAPA will have its next conference in Manila in May, and certainly we have, as a matter of fact, already linked up with the United Nations Public Administration Organ, UNDESA. And one particular theme that we'll be looking at will be within the context of the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. The more important question is, we're all talking about SDGs. Question, what do we as academic institutions, since most of us from academic institutions, are we able to help localize, implement this within the context of SDG? And I also mentioned this also to Dr. Nakamura with a private conversation earlier about perhaps working even with the local autonomy college, the role of local governments, for instance, within SDG. Because I think we have to think global, but still localize all this. There's so much interest in the region. But question, how do we translate it? And we are supposed to be the translators, if you may, as public administration scholars, and within the context of critical thinking. I think we have to do a little more in the area of publication, good publications, Scopus index publications, and unfortunately, in the area of public administration, ourselves included, we have to be more critical about that. And if I might add a question now, sir, since I have the mic.
Sure.
Okay. I just would like, I did ask, regarding the possibility mentioned earlier by Professor Dr. Adi, ASEAN Public Administration Network. Question, is this not again one of those, or it's really 1 + 1 = 3 within the context of us again working together, as Dr. Nakamura mentioned and what Dean Mendoza mentioned. And in the areas where we could work together would be, of course, ASEAN. One question, possibility, ASEAN Secretariat is here in Jakarta. And you know, as in your presentation, you mentioned about the 3 pillars, economic, political, and social. Is it possible at one point for us, as a network, if you may, to be a recognized institution or body under the ASEAN network? Because it's very, very true that if we are recognized as a group in ASEAN based in Jakarta, I think that would be an excellent push, and we will also have an excellent opportunity to make concrete public administration governance concerns, which is precisely under the 3rd pillar of ASEAN. So my question really is possibility of us being recognized as a affiliated body of ASEAN. The way perhaps some of our institutions might be recognized at the UN, but perhaps even before UN, let's look ASEAN. Can we be recognized as that? And I think with your leadership, ASEAN Public Administration Network with AAPA, EROPA, AGPA, one network, perhaps recognized by the ASEAN. And perhaps that could be one thing.
Professor Alex, question number 1 is about the initiation of the ASEAN Public Administration Network or something?
No, because I think you're talking about the ASEAN Public Administration Network. There's no network at this point in time, right?
Yeah, that's why the initiation comes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. In fact, I talked to Dr. Eko about that. But if we have that, is it possible for it to be recognized by the ASEAN Secretariat under the 3rd pillar? Right? And yes, that would be excellent.
Yeah, got it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Alex. Professor Nakamura, you could take the response back of...
regarding the publications, Professor.
Regarding publication, no? Okay. It's very popular terminology imposed is locally. Think globally, act locally, do it right now. Yeah, thank you very much. Paddy, your response to the question.
Okay, thank you, Professor Alex, for your question. You have 2 questions. The first refer to your questions about the probability, possibility of the ASEAN Public Administration Networks can be done in the next time. I think this is very, very possible because we have many institutions in the policy studies. So we can create the network, and we, I mean NIPA, will support the secretariats and the budgets and the program. And after this conference, we hope we can identify some policy institution in the ASEAN countries, and we can formulate some agenda, meeting, conference, and I think one of important thing from Professor Nakamura, how we can develop some case of policy studies in the ASEAN countries or Asia countries. This is very interesting, and in the past years, in 2017, NIDA of Thailand invites the NIPA to write the case study in the one's thematics. This is the ones of good example how to develop this network. I think this is very possible to create this, and we can create a joint to the other institution have the same focus in the policy studies. Thank you. Oh, okay. Yeah, I will try to promote and to send proposal to ASEAN secretariats so we can join ASEAN Public Administration Network and ASEAN Secretariat have the some agenda, so we can develop powerful networks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mari. Well, yeah, first term already passed. Now we go to the second one. Before Secretary General Dr. Mercado, on my left side already raised his hand, so I'll give him the opportunity first. Mike, lady, could you please stay here? Yes, please.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Shahruddin Ramlan. I work for the Ministry of Finance of the Republic of Indonesia. My question will address to the first presenter, Adi Suryanto. You mentioned many of indexes about the quality of the public policy processes and something like that. By thinking about the implementation of ASEAN's economic community, my first question is, you mentioned about the collective effort. What do you mean by this terminology of collective effort for the implementation of ASEAN economic community?
Collective what?
Collective effort or collective action.
Okay.
Something. And the second one is, what do you think about the readiness of Indonesian peoples in entering the economic community of the ASEAN? That's all, sir.
Thank you. Do you want to take it right away? Or wait for the others?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. What's your name? Sorry, sir? Safruddin. Thank you, Mr. Safruddin, for your question. Two questions. The first question about the collective efforts to implement ASEAN economic community. Yeah, I think ASEAN economic community is one of three pillars of ASEAN community. For the Indonesia governments and Indonesian peoples, this is very important. But I think the government officials in Indonesia not ready to respond opportunity of ASEAN economic community because you know, in the ASEAN countries, Indonesia is one of the countries have the biggest markets in ASEAN. So this condition influence to the minds, to the thinking, to the preparation of the institution. You know, in the 2015, when we will come to the ASEAN Economic Community, we have the leadership training with the thematics training with ASEAN Economic Community. We check the preparation of the some institutions, some government bodies, and this is very, very excited because generally the Indonesian governments have not good preparation to join in the ASEAN Economic Community. This is a very crucial issue, and we developed some questionnaire to check preparation of the official government Indonesia to the ASEAN Economic Community, and I have the conclusion. The Indonesian government official have not preparations to create a program, how to ASEAN Economic Community, and generally the official government in Indonesia have not knowledge, information, and policy, national policy, how to implement ASEAN Economic Community. This is one point, crucial 1 point. The next mention from Mr. Saifuddin, how to about the readiness, what readiness. I think the first response is include the readiness, how to facing the ASEAN Economic Community for the government official in Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you, Mari. Next question, Dr. Orlando Mercado.
I'd like to address Professor Brillantes' suggestion. Under the charter of the ASEAN, you would find in the annex there's a list of organizations that they have recognized. One of the requirements for recognition is that the organization is statedly projected to serve the ASEAN, meaning the countries in the ASEAN. That being said, I think with the decision already of EROPA for Indonesia to establish its institute, I believe we can quickly apply under that institute and the recognition will be quicker. Although I think many organizations listed there are organized to serve ASEAN but not exclusively ASEAN. In other words, that's part of the main focus, but it doesn't mean that we don't accept, you don't accept membership outside. Now, on the matter of other organizations, I think we all do realize, when you come to think of it, if we ask ourselves, why are we here? Why are we engaged in public administration? In the end, it's all about public service. Our objective is to serve our constituencies, improve mechanisms by which we can deliver public services. If we exist for public service, then you cannot arrogate upon one group or one organization that particular function. In fact, you should welcome other organizations to come in because it's such a huge task for one organization or even one institute or even one government to be able to deliver. So that being said, it is natural for other organizations to have certain comparative advantage. They specialize in certain things, but that is actually a good thing. They can be very good at certain things and share the same expertise with others. And where we can cooperate with each other, I don't think that is going to be any problem. So I think if our attitude is that we are not in competition, but we are actually in cooperation with each other, allow the expertise of one organization or focus to blossom, and I think in the end we will serve our constituents well. In the end, never forget, it's all about public service.
Applause for Dr. Mercado, please. Yes, that's correct. I think he concludes all of the discussions issues today, how to improve the public service through several ideas raised by the panelists. I open the second terms now. Still, there are some of you going to share your idea. Lady on my right side.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum and happy morning to all of you. I'm Dr. Hana from Nusa, Malaysia, Terengganu. Today we talk about the Asian networks. What I am to ask is I would like to raise my questions to the second speaker from NADA. It's about that just now mentions about many things. Well, the question is, as we know right now, we are moving forwards on the IR4, Industrial Relations 4.0. So can you just explain the impacts of IR 4.0 towards Asian public administrative networks? Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Rasakan, you'll take it right away. Revolution Industry 4.0.
Okay, thank you very much for the questions. I already talked about the disruptive technology, science and technologies, and I think that this is very important nowadays, and it does have a lot of impact to not only ASEAN but around the world. And I think that when you think about science, technologies, and innovations, it's very close to our daily life. So it has a lot of huge impact to the body of knowledge and of the public administration. I would like to say that if the core value of this conference is public service, then in the morning, I already listened some sections, and the ladies in the room in the morning answer the questions. This is very good. She talks about that smart city in Indonesia, and once the people, maybe she is in this room, and smart city in Indonesia, and when the people ask about the needs of people needs in they are asked about the people really needs your smart city, and she replied that okay, local people doesn't recognize the smart city, but people love better public service. So smart city is respond to the better service. I think this is a very good answer. And all of the industrial life 4.0 or anything else is very impact to our knowledge to deliver the public service to the people. And we have to emphasize on and also accept many other field of study. I already emphasized on my presentation that science, technologies, and innovations, even medicines, physical doctor, dentists, and many other occupations to come and join our circle to give the idea about their research on the public service, how to make the public service in their field of interest, make it to the realities. I think this is very important because in Southeast Asian, when I listen many paper present here, there is always asking about, like professor from Hong Kong, they present a paper about waiting time of the medical service, medical treatment in Hong Kong. I really appreciate that. This is also a common problem among Asians. Even Thailand nowadays, if you go to the public hospital, you have to wait a long queue, like 3 hours. I don't understand why the patient, which is very weak, must wait in the morning and get the queue, and then they go to work and then back again to see the doctor before they get a prescription. It's very stupid, I think. If we think about the public service, we have to more care about the waiting time and respect how you produce the medical doctor enough in this country. Because when I was young, 20 years ago, major problem in Thailand is we lack of doctor and nurses. And nowadays, even 20 years past, we still have the same problem. because what? Because of the Thailand has like a 2 track of the medical treatment. The first track is a medical hub, competing with the Singapore and South Korea medical hub, and another one is a local doctor serving in the local area. So this is a kind of policy that parallel. Some of the doctors who already reimbursed their scholarships because when using the learning about the medical doctor and nursing, you are using the money from the government. And once they reimburse the money to return to the government, they quit the jobs and move to the private hospital immediately and gain a lot of money. So this is a problem in Thailand. So I think I learned a lot from this forum, and I think that we should think about the technology. Maybe you have to think about the AI because a lot of medical treatment nowadays is set in the AI program. Like I already listened from the news in the news that there is like a 100 analytic for the prescriptions come at only 1 second by using the AI. Maybe this kind of thing that we should make our society better life by integrate between interdisciplinary with our public administrations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Even though the question is addressed to Dr. Achakon, I noticed that Dr. Professor Nakamura made some notes. You want to respond?
I have one observation about your comment. Unfortunately, even though in public policies we may be able to introduce AI and many other leading scientific technologies, but unfortunately, many social services are labor-intensive. Police force, for example, it's labor-intensive, and medical care, labor-intensive. Therefore, I think there have to be a recognition that introduction of scientific technology has a limit. And basically, at the bottom line is the many social welfare and healthcare and aging care and so on and so forth are really, unfortunately, based on labor-intensive formula. And so we have to find a way to compromise these two developments. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, please. Ibu Ati.
Thank you, Pak Madum. My name is Hadiati from the National Institute of Public Administration. My question addressed to Professor Nakamura. You mentioned about the number of Public Administration Association, it's remembering me about the political party in Indonesia. We have a lot of political party with no big difference of ideology. Actually, it's make us confused which one party we have to choose. And also about the association, there is no big differences about the ideology of the Public Administration Association. I don't talk about the member country, about the state country, but I talk about the individual member. I think it's difficult for us to join, to choose which one we have to be a member. We have to consider about the distance, about the length of stay. For example, if I want to be a member, individual member for IIS, I have to consider, oh, it should be done in Europe or in Africa. It's so far for me. And, but I really need to be a member of this association. So it's look like a competition. It's look like maybe the association should be considered about the member, because you know all of us is rather the same member of all organization. And then the second question is about you have so many experience in your career, and I really a little bit surprised when you mention is only one ladies from Korea that the paper can join the international journal that you be what you call it, the reviewer. Could you give a suggest for, you know, in this room there are so many young potential scholars, so they can follow the ladies from Korea, because I know that to join or to put the paper in the international journal is not depend on the capability, individual capability, but also the strategy, the political strategy. So maybe you can advise them. It's not for me, I'm already old at the moment, but for young scholars here, that they can have a chance to be next ladies or next gentlemen to the international paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Bu Ati. Professor Nakamura.
Thank you for your questions. Both questions are very important, and I think first question, really, if I may say so in French, touché. Okay? It's similar to, as you say, political parties. But more, if I may elaborate on those different organizations in detail, AGPA is based on state members and corporate members, and no individual members. And therefore we started AAPA. AAPA has no state members, only individual members. And, but other than that, in terms of theme we deal with, and discussion perhaps we have, membership we have, I think all those different organizations look, as you say, similar. And so there are, as many Professor Alex Briantes pointed out, I think there are many room to collaborate and to share informations and to expand together instead of fighting each other. Market is very small, and why fight? I mean, we have to collaborate and cooperate, and so as to move the quality of PA studies up in this part of the world. And the second question is, what is the problem with manuscript, MS, submitted to leading international journal? Number of problems. One, English expression is no good, oftentimes. And I think before you submit, I recommend you to ask many so-called natives to check the English expressions. And so that the manuscript looks very smooth in terms of expressions and use of terminologies. And also, you have to keep your eye on how to list, how to make bibliographies, how to make footnotes. And internationally, you have to follow. Unfortunately, for better or worse, the international standard is to follow an American Psychological Review. Other than that, they don't approve of your paper on par with a global standard. So in terms of, you know, the reviewers, what reviewers will do is, instead of reading from the first page 1 to down, first thing they do is they go back to the bibliographies, what sources they have used, you know, and therefore bibliographies, you don't take it lightly. Bibliographies, footnote, references are very important. That's small tip I can tell you. Thank you.
So young scholars, read the bibliography first before you read the full text. See? But actually the very first question was about the gender. She's saying about one lady only could, you know, send the article to the journal.
We have, when I was associate editor, close to 20 papers came to my attention, and I distributed to blind reviewers.
Oh, yeah.
And blind reviewers rejected, except one. But one of the problems, one of the headaches being an associate editor was, I was the one who have to send letter, mail, to those writers saying your paper is rejected. So those who are rejected think that I rejected, not me. Those reviewers are rejected, but they began to criticize me. And so I said, you know, I don't like to be an associate editor, but they insisted that they have to have an Asian. So I'm one of those sacrifices.
All right. Thank you, Professor Nakamura. So, Bu Ati, this is not gender bias, I think, because reviewed by the blind reviewers. So if you are qualified enough, then your article will be accepted. Still have 10 minutes. One more question, please, if there is any. Yes, in the back, gentleman in the back.
Thank you. My name is Bram. I work for the local government of Badung Regency. I would like to address my question to Dr. Adi. I think we have a very great discussion here from the first day until today. And I'm interested with the issue of decentralization and globalization, which is very important for me as I work for local government. And my question is, where are we going from here? I mean, how can we communicate the research to policymakers? Because the one who sits in the office and make the policy is the one who should understand the recent research which may able to make public service become better. Thank you.
Thank you, Bram. Adi?
Thank you for your questions, good questions. NIPA have once authority to develop the policy analysis in Indonesia, especially for the civil servants. So in the years we developed some policy how to formulate competency and capacity of the policy analysts in Indonesia. So we will create the network of policy analysts in Indonesia come from the national government, local government, universities, and the non-government agencies. We collect, we develop network, so we have the good resources to develop the goods policy, and we will create some training program how to develop capacity of policy analysts in Indonesia, and this is a very crucial issue because you know, in some Indonesian government institution we have not policy analysis. I mean the special capacity, competencies to formulate, to define agenda setting and to create policy. So the public policy in Indonesia, as well the policy from Indonesian governments come from the politic interesting. So the position of the civil servant is very weak, because dominates by parliament's members. I think this is very important. So the next agenda we will create the strength networks of policy analysts and to create some trainings agenda how to develop a capacity and competency policy agenda. I think this is.
Thank you, Mari. And by this last question, I think this session is coming to the end. And before we stop this session, this special session, so-called, actually I wanted to conclude the topics, but I don't have enough courage to make a conclusion, so I just make three final notes. First, that the embryo of Public Administration Networks Center, Professor Alex, probably this is under the ASEAN, under the EROPA Secretariat or under the ASEAN Secretariat in Jakarta. We can discuss this more, a little bit more in Manila next year. Second one from the Dr. Achakon, research to gain evidence so that the policy in the network will be based on utilizing information technology or other techniques will be very important in order to improve the service quality for the publics. And last one from the Professor Nakamura, we noticed that actually all of the issues of the ideas, you know, only have one keyword. This is leadership, leadership, leadership. Either in political point of view and public administration. By these three final notes, ladies and gentlemen, let's us give big applause to these three presenters. This is Japan style. You want to follow it? Thank you very much. Thank you for your excellent presentations, presenters. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And coming back to the Master of Ceremony.
Okay, thank you very much. That was plenary session, and now the agenda is going to be preceded by the token of appreciation, which is going to be presented by Ibu Sri Hadiati.
Therefore, for the gentlemen on the stage, please remain on the stage, as we would like to invite once again the Prime Secretary of the National Institute for Public Administrations of the Republic of Indonesia to kindly present the token of appreciation, please. And of course, to the moderator of the last plenary session during EROPA Conference 2018. Please have a photo session, a group photo for a while. Kindly move a little bit forward for the group photo. Ladies and gentlemen, please give another round of applause to all of the speakers and also the moderator of the last plenary session.
Okay, thank you very much. You may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, before you have a lunch break for an hour and continue by closing ceremony, we would like to remind you once again for the excursion that we have tomorrow morning. For the transportation, remember for the transportation, the shuttle bus will pick you up, whether in Mercure or Ibis, at 7:30 a.m. local time, and the shuttle bus will go to the Sofitel, and the excursion will start at 8 a.m. local time, so don't be late.
Therefore, please kindly remind yourself, as mentioned by Professor Nakamura, punctuality is one of the important things. So please be punctual. And tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. local time, we will leave from Sofitel Hotel lobby to start our excursion program. And the dress code for the excursion tomorrow is the smart casual. So you are not allowed to wear slippers, shorts, or a t-shirt. So,
no slippers, no t-shirt,
and no shorts as well. You are allowed to wear polo shirt or jeans, but no shorts, of course. And tomorrow the excursion will be to Istana Tampak Siring, or the Tampak Siring Palace, and then also to the Taman Nusa and to Krishna Shopping Center. So here is the place where you can explore further your baggage later on, because of course we will buy souvenirs to be brought back to your home country.
So tomorrow we will have 3 different amazing places to go, so please prepare.
And now please have a lunch at the same restaurant, of course at Cuisine Restaurant, and we will gather back to this ballroom for the closing ceremony of the EROPA Conference 2018. So please gather
enjoy your lunch
at 1:30 p.m. local time. Gather back here. Thank you. Enjoy your lunch.